Combos have been present in games forever, from finding ways to juggle your opponent in fighting games to Magic the Gathering's notorious infinite loops. They can be exciting to pull off, but more often than not, they're game-breaking. And when a combo means one player is stuck waiting while the other goes through motions they can't stop, the fun disappears pretty quickly. Most games regulate their competitive environments by banning problematic characters or cards, or sometimes updating rules to close loopholes. But what happens when you create a system where infinite combos aren't just possible, they're unavoidable? So what exactly is an infinite combo? In fighting games like Super Smash Bros., it's a repeating sequence of moves that can be performed until your opponent is knocked out, sometimes referred to as a touch of death. In card games, it usually takes the form of a loop, a set of cards interacting in a way that generates an endless resource, wins the game outright, or creates an insurmountable advantage. These combos are powerful, and in competitive play they're dangerous, which brings us to Altered. Altered is a trading card game that launched its crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter in January of 2024 with a modest goal of €50,000. To everyone's surprise, they raised over €1 million in the first 24 hours. By the end of the campaign, they had shattered records with over €6 million raised, making Altered the most funded trading card game Kickstarter ever. That kind of success doesn't come out of nowhere. Most card games rely on expansions, booster packs, and a secondary singles market. You buy a pack, you don't know what's inside, and if you want specific cards, you usually have to buy them individually. It's a system that keeps players spending, but it's also a system players are very familiar with. Equinox, the company behind Altered, wanted to separate itself. So they introduced a brand new system, Uniques. Here's how it works. The most rare cards in Altered aren't just rare in the traditional sense, they're literally one of a kind. When you open a unique and a booster pack, you're the only person on the planet who owns that exact card. And these cards are generated algorithmically with stats, abilities, and features assigned by an engine that can churn out millions of possible versions. On paper, that's brilliant. Every player gets something that feels special and personal. To keep things under control, Altered limits decks to a maximum of 3 uniques, which sounds like a reasonable rule until you realize that even 3 uniques can break the game wide open if they happen to roll the right combination of abilities. It's like saying, don't worry, there are only 3 landmines in this field. And competitive play is where this really matters. Tournaments happen every day around the world, and players expect environments that are fair, consistent, and predictable. But in Altered, you could sit down across from a deck with a card no one has ever seen before, not even the designers. How do you prepare for that? How do you practice matchups when tomorrow you could face something that literally didn't exist yesterday? And this isn't just hypothetical. Altered is already investing heavily in competitive play. Right now, they're running qualifiers all over the world, both in person and online, leading up to their very first World Championship next month in Paris, France. If you qualify, you get an all-expenses-paid trip to compete on the biggest stage the game has ever had. That's incredible, but it also highlights the problem. Imagine traveling halfway across the world for the most important games of your life, only to lose to an infinite combo generated by an algorithm. That's not exactly the storybook ending they might want. In most games, when an infinite loop shows up, developers can patch it out or ban the card causing it. In Altered, that's not so simple. If a single unique generates an infinite combo, do you ban that one copy? That feels unfair to the person who opened it. Do you ban the ability entirely? Then suddenly thousands of cards are invalidated. And remember, the game is still brand new, yet we're already seeing infinite combos emerge. Take this card as an example. You don't need to know really anything about Altered to recognize that the 2 lines of text printed one after another on this card are recursive. A 1-card infinite combo. If this card would gain this fleeting status, it gains a boost instead. Well, if a card gains a boost, you could have it gain that fleeting status, which becomes a boost, and you can repeat this indefinitely. Well, not quite. Equinox recognized this as a possibility and has implemented a rule, a limit of 100 repeat actions of the same object. Not only is this limit completely arbitrary, it's unreasonable to expect anyone, especially an opponent, watching this unfold to keep players honest and track a sequence like this. Okay, so I'll pay 1 and I'll play this, and that will trigger this, so I'll get to draw 2 cards. Then when I draw 2 cards, that triggers this, which I can then rotate it, and then I get to draw another card, And then this says when I draw a card, I get to put one here. And then this says when I put one here, I get to put another one here. Now is that 64 or 65? I don't think I want to play anymore. Interestingly, the Altered community has already started experimenting with ways to fix this. There are online tournaments for a no unique format, where players simply aren't allowed to use uniques at all. And honestly, I think this might be the future of Altered's constructed play. Without uniques, the game becomes more predictable and more balanced and much easier to prepare for competitively. Suddenly, it looks a lot more like the other trading card games people are used to, while still keeping Altered's core mechanics intact. And this doesn't mean uniques don't have a place. In fact, I'd argue they're at their best in limited formats like draft or pre-release events, where players open fresh packs and build decks on the spot. In those environments, uniques don't feel like game-breaking wildcards, they feel like exciting surprises that add flavor and variety to each event. And in my opinion, this is the most fun way to play Altered. And this wouldn't be the first time a community reshaped a game. Take Magic the Gathering. Its most popular format, Commander, was not created by Wizards of the Coast. It was created by the community, and years later, Wizards recognized its popularity and officially embraced it. If Altered's community is already experimenting with formats like no uniques for competitive play, while still keeping uniques as a highlight of limited play, we might be watching history repeat itself. So here's the real question. Can a game built on an endless algorithm of untested cards ever truly be competitive? Altered's unique system is ambitious and maybe even revolutionary, but it also feels fundamentally at odds with the kind of consistency and balance that competitive players need. Could this possibly be the future of card games, or is it a system destined to collapse under its own chaos? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.